Welcome to the High Queen podcast.
Prepare to embark on a journey through books you'll fall in love with, as well as the leading ladies who inspire our own stories.
Our friendship blossomed from pageantry to page turners, sparking a desire to show other women that they too can be their own main character.
I'm Miranda,
And I'm Autumn.
and together we'll lead you through books of all genres, from epic fantasy series, romance, all levels of spice, even to autobiographies of real life heroines.
We are some passionate bitches. So remember, this podcast is rated R and prepare your ears. It's time to celebrate the heroines who redefine what it means to be brave and bold.
So grab your book, beverage, and bestie and crack open the book to page 572. And let's do a check-in with each other because we're about to end this book, which is crazy.
I'm so excited. One of my favorite books of all time. I have so enjoyed getting to reread this. I've done a lot of, I guess, like ingesting of art in the last week. I engulfed part one of Bridgerton.
Just so good.
I love it. I love it, but I'm a lover, like I try not to see too many faults in things because then I start to get sad. So I just enjoy it for what it is. And it's fun. Can't wait for part two. Can't believe I have to wait a freaking month. Yeah. I was like,
okay, struggle with what we do of like 2 weeks. I'm going to devour the whole thing right away. And then I got to wait.
I know. But also then I was in like a little bit of like a movie TV slump. You know how we get in reading slumps? Like, I'm in a reading hole. Yeah. Well, that's how I felt. And then I decided, okay, I'll finish the chapters I need to do for this episode. And then I'm going to reread the entire first book of Fourth Wing.
And in a week?
I reread all of Fourth Wing from the Empyrean series, and I'm already partway into the second book of Iron Flame, rereading it.
I have decided that this podcast is eternally going to be Autumn has read the book and Miranda has not, which is fine by me. And honestly, I think it's fun. I wish, and now I am going to say, and this is not an excuse, it's just pity party for one. I want to read more. Like I want to be reading more than just what I'm doing for the show, right? Mm-hmm. But I have to read for school. Like here's the next book, and then here's my textbook, right? Like so yeah. I love that for you, and I can't wait to join the bandwagon eventually for the first time here on the podcast.
I know it's hard. I mean, I get it. Listen, you're amazing and in your Harvard program, and I don't have to read textbooks. So, you know what? I'll read 1,000 books a year. That's an exaggeration.
I was gonna
extremely.
You almost said a month.
I almost did say. I stopped myself. I was like, no. And you will go get so many degrees.
And then I will join you on the reading for fun all the time train again. I'm hanging on for dear life. I'll hop on.
It is fun. Now, what's been up with you? I mean, anybody who's looking at our podcast, who's watching it, already knows a little something. But why don't you tell the people who are listening?
You've either seen it here or you've seen it on social media. But I'm gonna come in close to the camera for a second. So can you see? I had a happy little accident with my hair. Nothing bad. I'm just very much a redhead right now. And initially I was freaking out and I went, oh my God, I look like Amarantha. Like this is how I envision her. And then I was like, no, that's cool. Like I could totally cosplay that. But I live in South Dakota. It's the middle of winter. There's no way that I can go cosplay being Amarantha. So I've decided that I am just Lucien's hot sister. Like that's the vibe that this hair is giving. Yes. Don't know if he has a sister. We only know about brothers, but I've decided that's who I am in this moment. So yes,
I love that for you.
Miranda's red hair era. Very
there's
red
hair.
Years, but
there's another heroine in an SJM book series that you have not read yet.
Yes.
But for
Name
now,
starts with
you
a
could.
G
Ooh, with a B. So
with a B.
close.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I've
her name
seen I've
is,
seen the names
yes,
around.
her name is Bryce.
Yes.
And you could definitely pull off her look right now.
Okay. Well, I for now I'm Lucian's hot sister, not Amarantha. Someday I'll be in my Bryce era when we get
There
there
you go.
because your girl did buy, I don't know, where is it on the bookshelf? It's behind me. I did buy Throne of Glass. So that's the next thing on my updates. I went to the bookstore. I did it. I bought the box set. No, I'm not even buying one and whatever. Then they announced that our Books a Million chain is actually closing here in Rapid City where I live, which is so sad. Like it's not closing nationally, just here. They,
Yeah.
whatever, whole thing. So I'm like, well, they have books 20 to 30% off.
That's
So
amazing.
I'm gonna go buy some books. And I spent $200. It should have been significantly more,
Oh, yeah.
and I brought home 13 or 15. I got Brimstone, which I know nothing about, just that people love it. Was able
Yep.
to get
Yep.
that. Got the first Crescent City book. They only had the one, but that's okay. And then yeah, a handful of others. And I need to put it up still because I need to paint my office still. But I got a Prithian map to put up on my wall so
Cool.
I can always turn and be like, okay, that's where we are in
I love
Prithian and in
that.
the world
That's
of
amazing.
ACOTAR. So yeah,
So fun.
um, all good things. Now, two little nuggets that I want to drop in really quick. This first one barely matters. Getting a little promotion at work. I'm just moving up the ranks to manager, which is basically what I've been doing, but now I get the title and the pay.
Yay. Congrats.
Thank you. Then all the exciting things on the pod front. We got our first 1,000 likes on TikTok, which is so exciting.
That is very
Little
exciting.
milestone, cool milestone.
Thank you all so much. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you. And we're getting so close to 100 followers on each of there as well. And again, little milestones, but like it's just cool to have you all with us and have our little bookish besties everywhere. And with that being said, we got our first review, our first 5-star with
Oh,
like a paragraph from Tiny Pink Owl. And I'm curious, should I read it out loud? It's our very first one.
I mean, yeah, this feels special.
Yeah, I
Stop having
think
to
so
cry.
too. I am so excited. I actually we got a follower yesterday that I had discovered on TikTok. She's got about 10,000 followers, so she's a, an influencer but a smaller one. Beautiful singer, and she organically found us on TikTok. And
Aw.
I was like, "Oh my god, that's so cool and so crazy that I've been like watching your videos on my personal page and now you've found us here." So, it's
I
fun. You
love
guys
it.
are awesome. So, Tiny Pink Owl with a 5-star review. We love you. She said, a very good friend told me I had to listen to this podcast because she also encouraged me to read A Court of Thorns and Roses series. I always trust her recommendations. So, after finishing the first 2 books, I gave this podcast a listen. First, I just want to say I love the dynamic you both have and how real and authentic you are. It truly feels like I'm listening to friends talk. Second, true confession. I've read Fae stories before, and for some reason, I find them really hard to fully comprehend. I'm an
Mm.
avid reader, but sometimes the fantasy worlds are just difficult for me to visualize. We got it. And I think
Mhm.
that's why I didn't feel as connected at first. I've never reread a book before because I usually love the unknown when I read, and I tend to get impatient if I already know what happens. However, you both inspired me. You helped me clear up the cobwebs in my mind, and now I actually plan to reread book 1. I'm really looking forward to continuing this journey with both of you. Thank you for letting me feel like I'm a part of your book club.
Yay! Oh, I love it so much.
It's so
Thanks, Tiny
good.
Pink Owl. That's so exciting. We love that you're
Yeah.
joining us and you're able to kind of rediscover your love for, fantasy and fae books. And yes, clearing up some of that because it can be really challenging to digest all that world building that typically happens in
Yes.
the first book of a series. And the imaginative nature of it can be challenging as well. And I think that's the beauty of having other friends to talk about these books with.
Oh,
And
yeah.
to be fair, for me as an adult woman, I feel like it's sometimes challenging to go out there and make friends and figure out like who's got the same niche interest as me.
Yeah.
Anybody? Can we all raise our hands today? That's so hard. And I think that's the beauty of this podcast and social media is that we can find our people that, like calls to like concept. We can call to
Yes.
each other. And I'm so glad you found a little reading corner, a little home with us. And we can't wait for you to continue.
All the bookish
Yay.
besties. I love it. It makes my heart so happy.
Now we definitely need to get into this last section of the book. I will tell you my initial impressions. It was like, build my heart up, make me fall in love, tear it apart. And I love drama. I love the drama that you get in these books and these pages. And this was definitely a good, like, whew, big exhale because you get all of that pent up drama right there at the end. You got to love the last 100 pages of a book because there's so much that happens here. And
So much.
I enjoyed every second of it, even though some
Oh
of them
yeah.
I was screaming,
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
like not in like a fun way.
yeah. Yeah. So many emotions. I'm like, they truly got to be together for just a moment before they were ripped away from each other again. Like, I'm devastated, and we're going to talk about it. But hi, lady. And this is
Mm,
from
mm,
Miss at
mm,
the beginning of
mm.
this book. I'd be okay with just sitting on the side and being seen and not heard to an extent, right? Because she wasn't happy, all the things. And now she is living up to her potential. And
Love
like,
it.
I am not talking about her potential in just like leading as Reese's equal in High Lady of the Night Court. We love that potential, snaps to her. I'm also talking about her potential with her power that she
Mm.
displays and the fact that she is officially, our girl Feyre is on the chessboard. She's no
Yeah.
longer a bystander. She is playing the Game of Thrones. LOL.
But true, but true.
Mm-hmm.
Playing the game, changing the game.
Well, we're gonna see what happens in the next book, of course, but we gotta summarize these last
Well, I
100
mean, changing
pages.
the game because there's not currently a high lady.
No,
Like that's what I
there's
mean.
not.
She's changing the game. Like I cannot wait for the rest and like but I will say like first thing I thought when we were like, oh, Feyre's leaving Tamlin was I can't wait until she can see Tamlin again. Only so that
Mm,
we can get his reaction, right? In the same way, Feyre's a high lady. I can't wait until everybody else finds out
I
because I
know. It's like
want
we're in on the
reactions.
secret. I
Yes, I'm like, oh,
know.
I'm so excited for that. Okay, now let's dive into what happens in these last sections of the book. Okay, so we have the attack on Valaris that has everyone feeling stunned, angry, and full of grief. Rhys is angry and blames himself for the attack against Valaris, which is, to be fair, not completely unwarranted since he did
Yeah.
risk the city by telling the queens about it. But ultimately, even with that sacrifice, I mean, he's not the one who killed his people, right? It's not all the blame goes back on him. Now, the inner circle is ready to retaliate and makes a plan to sneak into Hybern and find the cauldron. While Amaranth, or not Amarantha, absolutely not Amarantha, Amryn, sorry, slip of the
It's the red
tongue.
hair.
Yeah, yeah. While Amryn will stay to defend the city and ensure it is prepared for any sort of battle that could come as a result. Now, all of Amber's reading has finally produced an answer to how to nullify the cauldron. Feyre must touch it and say a series of words from the Book of Breathings. Morrigan asks, what will happen if you put the two pieces of the book together? And Amryn explicitly says not to do that, and that if it's done, a blast of power would come and it would be felt in every corner of the world, awakening creatures and things that have been silent for a very long time. I mean, foreshadowing anyone? I think yes.
I said,
uh,
girl, what? What's
don't put
that
the
mean?
pieces together. They gonna
What?
put the pieces together.
Oh,
It's
duh.
gonna happen.
Yeah, that's gonna happen for sure. You can't drop that line, Amryn, and then expect us not to put the pieces together.
Yes. Now, before we take off, Feyre and Rhys share a moment to themselves. Off to the bedroom we go, but which one? Remember that her and Tamlin had separate sleeping areas, and Feyre is slowly beginning to deconstruct from her time with Tamlin and her understanding of how she thought things would work in Prithian. But she realizes that she does not have to keep her own separate bedroom. And that was just a spring court thing because Rhys wants her in his bed and always around him, even saying that he needs to be protected by her water wolves. He sure does always know what to say and when to say it.
God, he
Now,
does.
upon arriving in their bedroom, Rhys approaches Feyre with a ring, but not just any ring, the ring that she got from the Weaver's cottage. Now, we already knew that this ring was gifted to Rhys by his mother in his adolescence, that it was to remind him that she was always with him during his training days, and that the ring was passed down in their family line from one female to another over many generations. And his mother chose to give the ring to the Weaver to protect and told Rhys that any potential bride or mate would have to either be strong enough or smart enough to get it back herself. And that if she couldn't, she wouldn't survive the marriage.
That is a boy mom. That is
Yeah.
a boy mom right
Yeah.
there. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yep, you said it really well. Now, this beautiful moment is unfortunately soured by the realities of facing Hybern. Feyre knows that there is a risk in wearing the ring when they go to Hybern and that it could be used against Rhys if she is caught. They were also told by Rhys that if they're together in Hybern, it's possible that their bond will be sensed by others. Feyre makes a smart choice, in my opinion, to move ahead with the infiltration without the ring for now, but says that when they return from Hybern, she wants to celebrate their union in every way possible. Lucien says he wants to go one step beyond marriage and declaring the mating bond and hosting a wedding with a priestess. One step further.
Huh?
But then we cut to a closed door sex scene and he lays her on the sheets. What could that one step be? The
Mm.
next day, the inner circle takes flight. Cassie and Azriel have a plan for how to infiltrate Hybern, but it all sounds far too easy and simple. And we get that eerie feeling as a reader that something is bound to go wrong. As Cassie and Azriel Moore and Feyre make their way inside, they discover the cauldron with ease. As Feyre gazes into it, she sees nothing but inky, swirling black. And upon touching the cauldron, she is met with all things that are the building blocks of the world and the creation map for life. Opposing forces through and through, lightness and dark, good and evil, made and unmade, chaos and peace. Feyre is totally consumed by the power of the cauldron and the book and puts the two pieces, what? Together. Okay,
Bum,
she
bum,
puts them
bum.
together. Now she can no longer hear or be aware of her surroundings. She becomes a conduit between the two objects. But Feyre is strong, and she has enough willpower to fight back as she searches her mind for the words of the spell to nullify the cauldron. And just as she's about to pull out the first one, Azriel peels her hands from the cauldron's grip, breaking its control. She is jolted back to her senses and realizes that something is very wrong. Footsteps are surrounding around them, and then appears a set of eyes or eye
Mm.
that look too familiar. It is Jurian. Rhysand
Ugh.
winnows in and quietly slips the book from Feyre into his own jacket. And amidst the chaos, the King of Hybern uses Jurian as a distraction to cast a spell that puts a bind on the inner circle's powers and wards so that they cannot winnow out. Out of nowhere, Jurian fires an ash arrow through Azriel's chest, but he's not killed instantly. There's bloodbane poison on that arrow, and it's slowly making its way towards his heart. And the only thing keeping it from him is the king's powers, forcing the inner circle to abide by his will or risk Azriel's life.
Not our shadow singer.
Ugh. They're taken to the throne room, which has an emerald slab that holds a throne made of human bones. The door shuts, and the king says to no one in particular, now that I've held up my end of the bargain, I expect you to hold up yours. Two figures appear, Tamlin and Lucien. Slam the book shut. We're pissed off. We're
Screams,
yelling. What the fuck?
throws book.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Every time I read this and we pent up to it, I'm so aggressively angry.
Uh-huh. Well, okay, pause. Were you expecting that? Were you
No.
expect Okay, good. So I wasn't just missing something. When I read that for the first time, and again, every time, I was like, what the fuck? Tamlin and like, whoa, what is this relation? Like, I never in my
No.
wildest dreams expected, and you know what? Maybe we should have. Maybe we should have. We can talk about that more later. Maybe we should have known the lengths Tamlin would go, but I
But
just
that
jaw on the floor, jaw on the floor, the whole thing, not just the whole thing.
yeah. Yeah. If
On the floor.
anything, I expected it to be the queens.
Oh yeah.
That because they were given sus the whole time. Honestly, I could have foreseen him bringing Amarantha back from the dead, and that's who walked through the
Right.
door. But I was not
Not
expecting that.
not Tamlin and
Now,
Lucien.
Tamlin does look a bit different, right? His hair is cut slightly shorter than before, and he looks gaunt. He's clearly been struggling, which, wouldn't we all if we gave up our morals to make a bargain with the evil king?
Mm-hmm.
Tamlin asked the king to retrieve Feyre for him, and in return, the king could use the Springcourt lands as a port and base to enter from and take down the wall. There is even more to this bargain, though. It includes Feyre working for the king, bringing Rhys's friends to Jurian, breaking the bond between Rhysand and Feyre. And during this information download, Feyre realizes that there's more happening on the down low. Rhysand is no longer breathing in order to keep the scent of their mating bond from being detected. Cassian and Moore are starting to take in their surroundings to figure out how to fight their way out. And Feyre is changing her mental tactics from slamming into the spell that binds her mind to now caressing it into her control, realizing that she can convince the spell that they are one and the same, and that it does not control her, as they are both made and not made like calls to like. Feyre is one smart cookie, and she starts to make her own bargain with Tamlin, that she will go with him if the inner circle goes free. It pushes Tamlin to anger, and he tries to grip her arm and winnow her away without her permission. Go figure. But Feyre is far more clever than he will ever realize, and she finally breaks the spell on her power, winnows just out of his reach, and leaves Rhys there to give him a good old uppercut to the jaw. Huzzah!
So good. So good.
Now, this little move does reveal something deeper to Tamlin, though. The mating bond. He's close enough to scent it. Rhys probably took a breath. He's around both of them. He knows. They're mates. Just when you think things couldn't get to more of a boiling point, here comes a cauldron. I hope you enjoyed that. Now, Rhys's powers. Nope. Feyre's powers. Feyre's powers. Feyre's powers have once again been stifled by the king, and Feyre makes a bold promise to Tamlin. If he takes her, she will destroy him and his court and all the things that he loves. Now, I've never known Feyre to be one to go back on a promise, so I'd take that pretty seriously. The king of Hybern assures Feyre that she will listen and obey because there's something greater at stake. And through the doors enters the 4 remaining human queens, and with them, gagged, bound, and in their night dresses torn and dirty, are Elaine and Nesta.
Did you expect that one?
No.
I didn't. Oh,
no.
that was a whoa, holy shit. People just keep coming through this door, and I am shocked after shocked after shocked, minus the queens. But
that was brutal. I mean, all this time, the king of Hybern had playing his own game of manipulation. He reformed Jurian into his full human state and sent him to be the human liaison to the queens on the continent, gaining their trust, telling them that one day the Night Court is going to come for that book, spinning tales of love. Watch out. All along, the human queens had been deceiving the inner circle for one purpose and one purpose only: the promise of eternal life and selfishness.
Bitches.
Mm.
Fucking bitches.
Now, in order to gain the queen's trust, the king of Hybern plans to help them receive that immortality and eternal youth from the cauldron, but it's a dangerous process and it needs to be tested first. So the king asked Ianthe to find out who Feyre was the closest to and who she would want to spend eternal life with. Ianthe is the one that gives up the name of her sisters. So if you didn't like her before, now you double don't like her.
You better
Mm.
not like her. Oh, I want to drop kick her in the teeth. Not that I know how to do that, but I'd figure it out.
I don't know why I thought you were going to say, I want to drop kick her in the cunt. I'm so
That
ready for you to
too.
say
That too. I'll drop kick her wherever I'm closest to.
that. Now, the king spins this all right to sound like a gift when Feyre knows it is a threat. And it's the one thing that she will compromise herself over in order to save her family. And the only silver lining in all of this is Tamlin's ignorance to this part of the plan.
Of course. Of course he doesn't. Ah, he's such an idiot. Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Out of nowhere, the king of Hybern tells the room to brace themselves and lets out a blast of power, spurring Rhys to throw himself over Feyre to protect her, and Cassian to throw open his wings against the blast to protect them all, and it shreds his wings. And after a second blast of power, Mor tries to go for the king, but is stopped in her tracks as the king lets some of the bloodbane get closer to Azriel's heart.
It's so dramatic.
So dramatic. Nesta goes into a fit. Excuse me, I'll start that part again. Nesta goes into a fit of rage as Elaine is taken to the cauldron. Tamlin and Lucien both try to stop it, but are leashed by the king's power. Elaine
That's
is
right, you stupid puppy dogs. You are leashed. Put a
Elaine
collar
is
on
put
him.
into the cauldron, and Nesta begins to shriek in terror, causing Cassian, shredded wings and all, to lurch for her. The cauldron tips itself over, and Elaine is washed out with the water of black smoke, revealing her in her new Fey form. Lucien is suddenly let free of his binds, while Tamlin is still held, and Lucien makes his way to Elaine to put his coat around her. All the while, Nesta is being forced into the cauldron, but fighting with her every effort not to go in. She bucks and grasps the guards, fights like a hellcat, and she finally is pushed under and uses that last surge of her might and anger to point a single promising finger at the king. Tamlin and Feyre are both freed once Nesta is put into the cauldron, and even the grip on Feyre's mind is loosened because the king believes that he has won. Nesta comes out and rips the gag free from her mouth and runs for Elaine, pushing Lucien out of the way. But Elaine stares into Lucien's eyes as he says, "You are my mate." Well. Isn't this a twist?
Cruel, cruel fate. Cruel, cruel cauldron.
Rhysand starts to try to make a bargain with the king, but in a split second, Feyre realizes what that means and that he is going to try to sacrifice himself again. She's no longer willing to accept him giving himself away every time something bad happens around him, and instead believes that she is not really needed in the Night Court and that they have each other, and that she was just a tool that was needed to nullify the cauldron, and that she has failed them and failed her family. In the wake of all those thoughts, she makes a choice to instead sacrifice her happiness, her future, and her joy. Rhysand and Feyre are truly cut from the same cloth. Feyre begins to be an outstanding actress once again, crying and clawing at her head, and the light erupts from her, hoping Rhys will understand that her use of this power has a double meaning and that he will understand it while others will not. Along with that light is intertwined the ability to be the curse breaker and shred through all of the spells, including the most ancient ones that are warding them in. Whew. Feyre begins to pretend that the light that was emitted from her was her breaking the spell that Rhysand had put on her mind. And she pretends to not know anything that has happened, is surprised and horrified at the blood surrounding her, and that she's even with the night court. And what has happened to her sisters? Oh my gosh, she crawls, ew, her
Mm.
way back to Tamlin, terrified, shocked, and searching for him to save her. The clever Rhysand understands his role in all of this that he needs to play and puts his hands into his pockets,
I love when he does that.
takes back on his night court persona, and asks, how in the world did you break free?
They're such good actors. Get
I
get them
know.
on the stage in Valaris. Give them their own bill, their own ticket.
Right? The final piece of the puzzle is to convince everyone. Feyre begs the King of Hybern to break the bond between her and Rhys and the bargain and mating bond, saying that he forced her to do it. This convinces them all, and the king obliges. We all collectively start to cry and scream at our books. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, no. The king is successful in breaking the bond as Lucien reveals the tattoo on her left arm is gone. The inner circle understands Feyre's sacrifice and more winnows her to her sisters to show Rhys that Feyre took down the wards and to get them out. Rhys winnows Azriel and Cassian away, and in this moment, Feyre makes one small mistake. She's not screaming in terror that her sisters were taken by her supposed enemy. Lucian's mechanical eye narrows in on her, catching this moment and understanding that something is off about Feyre's performance, but says nothing.
Curious.
Before Feyre, Tamlin, and Lucien leave, we're left with the sight of the queens bickering at who gets to go into the cauldron first. And Feyre looks to them and tells them that she will be the one to light their pyres for what they did to her sisters.
Yes, bitch. Yes.
And then we get a new POV. Yay!
This was so good. I loved this so much. It was
Yes.
needed.
After
It was
only
so
being in
good.
Feyre's head forever, we finally get Rhys's point of view. And we return to the night court. Immediately, Amren and the Book of Breathings are asking where Feyre is. Mor finally reappears after hiding her sisters and healing Azriel's chest, knitting the muscle and bone and flesh back together. As Mor explains what happened on their trip to Amren, excuse me, as Mor explains what happened on their trip, Amren stops her and says that the king is a fool and that the mating bond cannot be
And
broken.
we all sighed the biggest sigh of relief. We were all like, okay. Oh my God, thank the cauldron.
Yes. Rhys confirms this and says that it was not broken. And that the king thought he wrote the mating bond, but it was just the bargain under the mountain, and that both he and Feyre are aware of what was actually broken in that moment. Rhysand can feel the bond while faint because of the distance between him and Feyre, and understands Feyre's plan to be a spy and report all the movements of Hybern within the Spring Court while going undetected. However, the even bigger bomb is that she's not just a spy, she's not just his mate, but the newly sworn in High Lady of the Night Court.
Exciting.
Now, this is what he meant by taking it one step further beyond marriage, beyond a priest, to acknowledge their mating bond, to make her the High Lady, his true equal in every way. The High Lady that made a sacrifice for her court.
So good.
The inner circle makes a plan to move when the time is right, and in the meantime, prepare for war. We go back to Feyre's POV as she, Tam, and Lucien enter the Spring Court. She takes in the rose-covered prison that is the manor, but now she enters as the wolf in the Spring Court. The end.
Oh, literally the end. What a turn of events. Holy crap.
I know. It's so fantastical though. I love it. It's like
Mm-hmm.
whiplash of stimulation. You're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? So much.
Yes, that
I
is
love it.
so true. Now, we don't have too much world building to drop here, but just like a little bit, a couple of pieces. So we finally experience Hybern the place. Like we have been there, we have seen it now. So it's an island off the west coast of Prithian. And they say that the land feels cold and empty as they fly over it. And there was this quote, no lights burned on it, but it felt old, as if it were a spider that had been waiting in its web for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So, a little bit of backstory about Hybern the place. Clearly, we didn't spend a whole lot of time there, but just something to note. Now, in the world building, I feel like we got to talk about the cauldron. Now that we have officially seen, met the it's like an entity. So it's called ancient, cruel, without allegiance to anyone but itself. Again, being spoken about as like a being, an entity. Um, Now we mentioned this, but its absence, its presence, its darkness, wherever the darkness had come from, we keep bringing up darkness, which I think is interesting. I then had questions that should go in the question section, but I'm jumping ahead. We keep talking about darkness. Is Reese so powerful and Feyre so power, like they have connection to the darkness in ways that like other people
Mm.
don't, and the cauldron has darkness, and I just was like, interesting, I wonder if those match up in any way and why they would be
Yeah.
so powerful. But it is the size of a bathtub, which is not what it was in my pea brain initially. I would, I was like a witch's cauldron like I put out at Halloween,
Yeah.
not a bathtub. But I'm
No,
like,
no,
I
no. You got
want
to
a
fit a
bathtub
whole
cauldron.
human in there.
Right, right, which I understand now that like we can use it to put, yeah, yeah. So it's the size of a
Were you just
bathtub.
reading and then all of a sudden they're like, and then they put a lane in and you watch the cauldron go whoop in your brain
And then I was like, oh, so it's like a clawfoot tub, but bigger.
and
Okay.
round.
Yeah. 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 I don't, it wasn't, I mean, it wasn't tiny in my head, but it wasn't massive either. I don't know.
No, that's fair. I definitely thought the same thing. So I
Okay.
get
Thank
it.
you. Thanks for the validation. It's hideous. It's alluring. Again, this like idea of it being almost alive. They said the cauldron had a heartbeat. And then again, inside the cauldron was nothing but inky, swirling black. Perhaps the entire universe had come from it. And that inky, swirling black again made me think of Resand. And I don't know that I need
Mm.
to, but it's something that was piqued in my interest. So couple of little world building things. They're almost characters on their own, which gets us into our characters that we love or the plenty that we love to hate.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now, of course, we're gonna start with Feyre. Okay, little moments for Feyre. Feyre is prepared and ready for Reese to be angry with her when we start these chapters, right? She shut him out, shielded
Mm-hmm.
from him, and didn't go back to the townhouse as she was told for Cassian to keep herself safe. And instead, he's not angry. He's proud. He's proud of
Mm.
her for choosing to fight for her people and having such strength in her powers, which she's ready to be yelled at, hence being from a traumatic relationship, and instead she's met with kindness and love and pride, like, oh, oh, I'm damaged, I see, okay.
Mm-hmm. Total 180.
Have
Yeah.
I had those moments in my own life? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
You're like,
like,
oh, self reflection. That's a me problem.
oh.
That's why I am that way. Okay. I love that she has this moment, and that moment, of Reese being proud of her, despite instead of being mad at her. And then when he's like, do you want to come to my room or do you want me to go to yours? Like, we don't have separate rooms. We have one room and one bed. And I'm like, she's still coming to terms with this new, and let's be real honest, better relationship. And I'm so grateful though that she is now. They've been ripped apart and whatever, and that's a whole other thing. But like you said, she's continuing to self-reflect and see like those pieces within her that she's still healing, and that Reese can help her heal. So we love to see her continue to grow. Now I want to
Absolutely.
touch on like the different facets of Feyre Darling. So I want to touch first on Raging Feyre, who, to be honest, I am loving.
Yes. Yes.
She calls Tamlin a spineless, stupid fool. And I went, you know what? You're right. I said, yes, queen. Yes. You're speaking up. You're saying what's on your mind. Of course, we all feel how we feel about Tamlin right now, but I just really
Mhm.
appreciated that. And then again, this quote, if you bring me from here, if you take me from my mate, I will destroy you. I will destroy your court and everything you hold dear. And I said, you know what, Tampon? I wouldn't test that one. She seems pretty serious. She is pretty serious. She's a fox in a chicken coop, is what she calls herself there at the
Mm.
end. She knows exactly what she's doing, and she told you what she was going to do. And I'm like, Raging Feyre. I love it.
I know, it's so delicious. Like, favorite really is like the wolf she describes herself as and the one she creates from water. I mean, her rage is a sort of like prowling nature to it that feels quiet, but like it could explode and attack you at any moment. And oh, it's just so palpable. You can feel it in the room with you. I love it.
Oh yeah. When she has this quote too, where she's talking about like hate flooding her. It's violent. And then she goes, I was going to kill them. I was going to kill all of them. And I was like, yeah, yeah. And then
Okay.
you said it in the summary, but that quote to the queens, I will light your pyres myself for what you did to my sisters. I'm like, man, y'all must not take, I don't know if it's just Feyre's words or a woman's words very highly, but I would be a little nervous. I think I would take what she has to say and not ignore
Yeah.
that.
Well, they think
So
they've
from,
won at this moment, so they're not going to
well, they
take her
do.
seriously. But
Yeah,
she's got tricks up her literal tattooed sleeve.
literally, literally. Raging Feyre to sweet mate Feyre. I loved that she was like, I want to do it all. I want to do the marriage. I want to do the mating bond. I want to throw a party and I want to invite everyone in Valaris. I want to do all of it. And it's like, yes, you're choosing yourself. We talked about this in the last chapter. She chooses her fate. She is making choices, not just letting life happen to her. Um, and I just think that that's so special that we got that moment from her too. And then, at the time I was like, what does one step further mean? Resand? What does that mean? And then, of course, mic drop. Hi, Lord and Hi, Lady. We have our first official, as far as we know, Hi, Lady.
Yes, it's so exciting. When I read this, I was seeing it in like a cinematic mode. And it's funny because Tiny Pink Owl mentioned like struggling sometimes like to visualize it. And I think this just depends on like the reader. I literally I don't know what it's like for you, Miranda, but when I'm reading, there's a whole freaking movie playing in my brain. Like I can be eyes wide open listening to an audiobook, staring into the abyss, and there's a whole movie happening. I can see it all. Colors, faces, here it's so wild. And I mean, I can do the same thing though if I'm reading a book. And when I was
Yeah.
reading this section, I was seeing like these cuts back and forth between scenes. Like we see the dramatic throne room tension. We cut away to a moonlit backdrop with stars that show an intimate moment of Feyre taking her oath and her new tattoo forming on her arm. And then cuts to the same tattooed arm but hidden as she walks into the spring court. And then it cuts to a smirk on her face as we see the manor and then dark. Like literally, it's like playing out. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so good.
Breaks the fourth wall, stares at the camera, winks.
Yes, yes. Like
End
when
of show.
Bella wakes up as a vampire, except it like fades from the oath tattoo into the her tattoo hidden into her
Yeah.
smiling.
I don't think that that's the way
I
my
want a
brain
movie.
works. And I'm so jealous because I want a movie to see it. Like I see it, but I don't know that I see it as vividly. And I see some pieces more vividly than I see others for
Mhm.
sure. Like I feel like I can imagine this book better than I could imagine like ACOTAR. And of
Mm.
course we're getting more world building and it maybe feels a little overwhelming, but I am a night gal. I am a night owl. I love the stars and the moon, and so maybe for me too, like picturing that as opposed to picturing like I am not a gardener. Flowers are beautiful, but I don't like bugs. I don't, I'm not. Nature is great to an extent. So maybe it was just easier for me to picture some of these pieces, but you paint such a pretty picture, so thank you for sharing that with me because then I
You're
can see
welcome.
it. So thanks.
Yeah, it's fun. I love it so much.
Yeah. So we've talked about raging Feyre, mate Feyre. Now I feel like we should touch again on like maid Feyre. So
Mm.
there's all of these questions that I feel like I still have and like these little nuggets that I want to bring up as I question this piece of her as a maid fairy. I was the book and the cauldron and sound and silence. She was a conduit. She was these things, which I think
Mhm.
is interesting and will come back. Um, there's this quote from the King of Hybern, and he says, "Look at you, a child of all seven courts, like and unlike all, how the cauldron purrs in your presence. Did you plan to use it, destroy it? With the book, you could do anything you wished." And I'm just like, wow, what can she do? What will she do? They could destroy the cauldron or
Mm.
they could take it. And then there's Amarin, who potentially the book could get her home. Like I'm like, Feyre
Getting
can
her home
do.
is there's a lot there. Getting someone home who's not of this world means
Mm,
somehow making a doorway to another world.
there's
That's a lot
so
of
much
power.
more that Feyre can do than just nullify the cauldron, which
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how that plays out. And again, she finally takes her fate into her own hands. I talked about it in, the lovey, adore, sweet, whatever ways. But again, she is playing chess. She ripped those wards right open, which I thought is something that only Reese and Moore have been able to do thus far because they ripped open the wards of the Spring Court, which are probably not nearly as powerful
Right.
as, like Valaris wards. But so the Cauldron can rip open wards. Feyre
Mhm.
can now rip open old, very powerful spells and wards. And Reese and Moore seem to be ones that can also rip open wards.
Mhm.
Now again, magic levels. Tamlin, I'm not all that convinced that he's all that powerful anymore. He's a little bitch baby. So maybe it's easy to rip open his wards, but I was like, of course Feyre can. That's pretty cool. And then there's this last piece of Feyre for me, and it's that there's the weight of the world. Now, not the world, but her world is now resting on Feyre's shoulders. She's no longer, I mean, yes, she's worried about Prithian and the humans, whatever, but it's now her world. She's in it. She cares. She has people that she loves. She has family. She feels like a failure, which is new weight for a girl. I mean, she might have felt like a failure, when she quote unquote broke her promise to her mom in the beginning of ACOTAR, but not in the same way. She feels failure to Reese, to her friends, now to her sisters, which I think is just an even deeper sadness for her. But she's got this rage. She's working through it. I think she's gonna come out on top of this one. It's not gonna break her down. Um, Also, she can do this purifying, clear power. This like
Mm.
daylight that comes out of her. Is that like from the day court? Is that just something within her? It can break spells. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Um, and then speaking of this like weight of her world on her shoulders, the moment when she just looks at them as that initial bargain bond is broken and silently, whether they know it or not, in that moment, silently she tells them goodbye. That just kills me because she's going to fight tooth and nail to go back to them. But will she? Will she make it back? Will she be with her mate and her family again? We don't
I
know.
know. And that is the heartbreaking part because in that moment, she doesn't know when or if she's going to see them again. It's not guaranteed, right? So I wonder too, this is something that happened in this scene that made me go, huh? More instantly knows that she can winnow over to her sisters. Like, Feyre doesn't have to say anything, but
Mm-hmm.
it's even noted that Moore does it to show the others it can be done.
Yeah.
Why did Moore understand something about the feeling of magic and what Feyre did in the wards before Rhys did?
Do you think that it had to do with being on the outside of that moment of Rhys and Feyre playing a part and him needing
Mm,
to suddenly focus more solely on, putting on a show, that Moore was
yes.
able to pick up the pieces a little bit more clearly, watching it from the outside, knowing the bond that they truly have, the love that they have for each other. I don't know. I also
Yeah.
was like curious. I'm like, why
It
could
could
Moore
be as
pick up
simple
on
as
that?
that. Could be as simple as
Yeah.
that. She wasn't like as emotionally invested in the moment as um Rhys would have been. So yeah, I think that's totally
Yeah.
fair. Just found it really interesting. So yeah. But our man Rhys, let's chit chat about him. I mean,
Mm.
gosh, just like Feyre breaking my heart, Rhys continues to break my heart. I mean, he even goes,
Always.
okay, he goes as far to say like he doesn't deserve Feyre. But Feyre remarks back that they deserve each other and that they deserve to be happy. And this is for me perhaps the most full circle moment where we start our story with Feyre in the woods, hopeless and believing in nothing. And now she is saying to her mate that we
Mm.
deserve to be happy together.
It's just so pure and beautiful. And like you said, so full circle. I love
I
it.
love it. Asriel also explains that Rhys needs to stay out of the castle. Right, he's too easy to detect, so he has to wait outside while they all go in and do this stuff. And um, we have that moment where it's like it's a final choice given by Rhys, a verbal choice, right? Telling Feyre that if she wants to go in, it is up to her. She doesn't have to. Like, hey, whole world's gonna fall apart, but if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. But at his core, Rhys knows like she's truly capable of this. She
He's
can do
always
it.
betting on her. He's always
I love
believed in
it.
her. He's
Oh,
always believed in her.
I
But she kind
know.
of messes up and like doesn't nullify the cauldron, but that's okay. It's not her fault. There was other
It's
stuff
not.
going on. There
There's
there
more
was
at
a
play.
trap. It's okay. We are not blaming Feyre, but he's always bet on her. He's always believed in her. Hmm, what a good man. Such a good man. Um, I think it was the King of Hybern or Jurian, one of the two of them, talking about Amarantha, said that she stole the King of Hybern's book of spells to take your Rhysand's powers. And I was like, again, this man is powerful. Like, we want his power. We are breaking ties and burning bridges to try to steal this man's power. What can it do? And then he
Mm-hmm.
just sticks his little hands in his pockets and cool, cool, calm, collected, night court, scary man. I wanted to cheer out loud. I did cheer out loud when Tamlin stumbled into Rhysand and he just clocks him in the face. I was like, yes.
Yes, hip hip hooray! I
It
love
was so
love that
good.
was honestly it was like a little bit of a comedic relief moment that I needed in the
Yeah,
intensity of that scene. Like, whew, yeah,
it
so
breaks it up
good.
for a second. And I was like, that punch, well, for Feyre was also for a lot of other things and was
Mm,
very necessary. And I'm sure if he had the choice, he would do it again.
yeah,
Um, I love that even though it's just for a moment, just for a couple of pages, we do get Rhys's point of view. and thank the cauldron for it because I was about to lose my motherfucking shit if the bond, the real bond, the mating bond, the primal feral deep down bond between Reese and Feyre was broken. And like, yeah, Feyre could have told us that in her mind, but just having Reese's POV here, I don't know. It just there was something about it that felt so right to kind of break apart that and have him tell us that she is lady of the night court, not my consort, not wife. Feyre is high lady, my equal in every way. She would wear my crown, sit on a throne beside mine, never sidelined, never designated to breeding and parties and child rearing, my queen. What a man. I've said it before. He's a feminist. He loves his ladies. He loves his wife, his high lady, his equal. And then he's like, and you know what? I'm going to assist her. I'm going to assist my mate in ripping the spring court, Ianthe, those mortal queens, and the king of Hybern to shreds slowly. And I said, yes, he is. I have no reason to
Yes.
think he won't.
It gonna happen.
Mm.
Okay. This is the kind of love that I crave.
Mm.
And I like personal anecdote here. This is actually something that attracted me to my now husband, right? One of our very first conversations as a couple was about being equals to one another. And I have never forgotten the feeling of him saying that to me. And I mean, we were like 22 at the time, but still to this day, like 10 years later, it is still holding true. Like he's my Reese in that way.
Mm.
And there's just something really powerful about knowing that your person sees you as a whole, fully capable, powerful equal to you. And the way that you can both go out into the world together, it's so empowering. And that's what Feyre gets in Resand. And I think it's maybe even what gives her the courage to do everything she does at the end of the book.
He continues to believe in her and bet on her and know her worth.
I love it. Now, switching gears over here to Morrigan.
Yes.
She is an enigma. Okay. There's so much that I just don't know about her that leaves me going, huh? What? And
Mm-hmm.
Jurian calls her a liar, says that she was always such a liar, which is interesting knowing that Mora's power is truth.
Mm-hmm.
And then it had me questioning, could her power possibly be that she can keep others from telling the truth?
I never thought about it that way.
She can force others to lie?
Hmm.
I don't know, but it's just so strange that Jurian has known her for all these centuries
Right.
and calls her a liar.
Right.
Always such a liar. And I'm like, so odd.
Also found that so odd. I was like, doesn't everybody like, oh, you're the Morrigan, you're the truth teller. That's your thing is truth. And he's the first person to like kind of shatter that a little bit and like put a
Yes,
crack in what we think of her of like liar. Now, Jurian, I don't know that we take what he has to say. We take it with a grain of salt, but
for
still,
sure.
for somebody to call her out and call her a liar, I also was like, ooh,
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
Why?
So
Okay.
odd. And the king takes more in when she goes to try and kill him and acknowledges, oh, what a queen she is. But he doesn't try to harm her or retaliate on her physically after she tries to kill him. I found that equally as odd. It's like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to stab you with a knife. And he like puts the bloodbane a little closer to Azriel's heart, which makes her drop the knife. And instead of being like dead, right? Like, or something, she's like right there with him. He just takes her
Mm-hmm.
in. What a queen you are.
Calls her a
That's
mighty
it.
queen. Mm-hmm.
It leaves me going,
What?
who are you? Who are you?
For real. I just
I don't
stuttered because I'm like, I
understand.
don't what? Now, speaking of, so those are her interactions, with Jurian and Hybern. Well, King of Hybern, I don't know what his freaking name is. I just want to know if he has a
Yeah,
name.
don't worry. I'm writing that down. I noted that as like literally that hit me as we were going through this episode, as we're speaking today. I'm like, King of Hybern, what's his name? We don't know
It
his
honestly
name.
annoys me. I'm like, but
Anytime, but listen, anytime we don't know the name of a character, I have to question if that's on purpose.
mm-hmm.
We don't know Feyre's mom's name. She's
Which
brought up
still
all the
just kills
time.
me.
We don't know the King of Hybern's name. Not really. We don't know Reese's sister and mother and father's name. We don't know Reese's last name.
We didn't know, we don't know Feyre's dad's name, and we didn't know their last name for a while either. I don't think. Didn't it take a little bit to get
It
Archer
just
on?
like a little bit, but not
Yeah.
terribly long. Um anyways, my point is anytime we don't get a name, I have to question if it's on purpose.
Mm.
If to reveal something else in a later book. I don't know. I'm not giving anything away. I'm just having boop, 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 boop. My brain is
Yeah.
firing.
Yeah. Yeah, it honestly just annoys me. I keep calling him in my head Hybern, but like Hybern is the place, not
Yeah, yeah.
him. Ugh, whatever. Uh KOH. That's what I'll call him. King of Hybern. So yeah, Morgan's interactions with Jurian, King of Hybern. But again, and I'm gonna beat this into the ground. Mor's reactions to Asriel. Mor is
Mm.
screaming. Mor was shaking, trying hard not to, but shaking as she stared at the protruding end of that arrow, visible between the gap in Asriel's rings. Mor looked at Asriel, and there was real fear there. Fear and something else. And I said, "What, SJM? What? What? I know that they have centuries of friendship and love, but her reaction is so much more visceral than anybody else's. And they always move together in weird
Mm.
ways. And speaking of moving together in weird ways, we'll get to it in a little bit, but the way that maybe Cassian reacts to Nesta, they just, I again, I'm going to beat it until it's in the dirt and maybe it won't even matter. And I'll be like, oh, I don't know why I cared about that so much. But just the way that they react to each other is so interesting to me. And it makes my brain go boop, 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 boop. All the
Yeah,
things,
for
this whole
sure,
book,
for
my
sure.
brain is so full.
Overload. Yes. Now we move on to Miss Amryn.
I loved getting more snippets of what her power can do. After the attack in Valaris, quote, with her dark power, she had spun illusions straight
Mm.
in the soldiers' minds. They believed they had fallen into the Sidra and were drowning. They believed they were flying 1,000 feet above and had dived fast and swift for the city, only to find the street feet away and the crunch of their skulls, the crueler ones, the wickedest ones. She had unleashed their own nightmares upon them until they had died from terror, their hearts giving out, some of them even drowning in their blood in the Sidra, and others just disappeared. Whoa. I'm like, okay, so
Whoa.
did you teach Resand how to do some of the mind crap that he can do? I know that she helped him, but I'm like, her power is really cool and really scary.
Really scary. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And
Tee.
then this little nugget that I love to see, this sort of like character growth, right? That's what we're talking about. This character growth of Amryn when she says she's your mate and she like bites at Resand. She's your mate, not your spy. Go get her. And that line actually shocked me just a little bit in that moment because I would have assumed, and we know what happens when you assume, I would have assumed that she'd have been like, oh, yeah, great. We're at war, whatever. Feyre's doing what Feyre needs to do. But instead, she cares. And she cares more than she would probably admit that Feyre is her friend.
Right.
And I really liked that, like, glimmer of, again, Amryn not just being this scary, powerful, unknown being. She has feelings for the people around her.
Absolutely. I mean, sort of by the end of the book, we see perhaps they're friends a little bit,
Hmm.
which I mean, Amryn clearly can have relationships and friends. I think we just all sort of perceive her as cold because
Hmm.
of her nature and the way she speaks and the tone. But I mean, she is part of the inner circle family, right?
And hey, I get the whole you're cold, you're intimidating, you're,
Mm-hmm.
the outward appearance, the outward persona that people, including myself, can and have put off can sometimes lead people to assume things about you that aren't always true. So
Yes, very
we
true.
love to see Amryn is more than just what's on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of what's on the surface, our snarky little Cassian, they're also snarky. Oh, his
Uh,
poor wings,
oh,
shredded by pure magic. Shreds of them remained so that he could protect his friends. And I am sobbing. Their friendship and their loyalty is just unending. And it's so gut wrenching and beautiful and powerful. And that he knew in that moment what he was doing, and
mm-hmm.
he still made the choice. I'm going to protect.
Yeah, that's in his nature.
Speaking, yeah, it is, and with that, the loyalty, and now this kind of combines our two bat boys, Cassian and Azriel, when they say, "With my life, High Lord, I will protect her, Feyre, with my life." And then Azriel nods and bows and says, "With both our lives." They are loyal to the bitter end. They will protect their people until the bitter end,
Mm-hmm.
which it could be the bitter end. I mean, Mor and Amryn are healing them at the end, but we don't know. We don't. Cassian, as far as I know, is no longer. I mean, I was going to say no longer an Illyrian. He's still an Illyrian, but his wings are nothing. And without his wings, who is he?
Yeah. Well, you're right. We see at the end more heals Azrael, but we don't get a mention of healing Cassian yet.
I think Amryn is maybe doing
Working on
something to
something.
Cassian.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that protection, he never stops trying to protect his friends, even on the brink of death. Even as he's losing his wings, he's still even trying to fight for Nesta, whom he barely knows. Now, speaking of Nesta, I'm going to kind of combine the two of them here for just a moment. Nesta's screaming was the only sound. Cassian blindly lurched toward her, moaning in pain. And I said, "Yep, I'm calling it. They're mates. He
Mm-hmm.
can see it, he can feel it. Same way Reese did when Feyre was a human.
I
They
mean,
are
it feels
mates."
obvious in this moment, does it not?
And like, is it too obvious? I don't know.
I think
But
that's a great question, but I think there's so much going on that you could choose not to see it if you didn't want to pay attention to it. But
mm-hmm.
our job here is to kind of pick things apart. So
Yeah.
we're going to highlight it, circle it, underline it.
And
And
come back
yeah,
to it.
and when you add all of this stuff up through the entirety of the book, you're like, yeah, he's obsessed with her. And
Mm,
reaching for her in a moment of suffering in the same way that Reese was, even though he's like dying.
mm, mm. And
Yeah, I'd call it.
even kind of the same way Azriel and Morn. No, I'm not saying that they're mates, but the relationship that they have. I mean, and I wrote down multiple quotes just from this teeny tiny section about Cassian and his reactions to Nesta as he is
Yep.
potentially dying. We don't know. He's slumped on the floor, but his hand twitches towards Nesta. He stirs again, his shredded wings twitching, spraying blood, his muscles quivering at Nesta's shouts, her raging, his eyes fluttered open, glazed and unseeing, in answer to some call in his blood, a promise he'd made her. But pain knocked him under again.
An answer to a call in his blood.
I was like,
Come
Bond,
on.
Bond,
Come on.
Bond. But now he is loyal. He is super loyal to a fault. So maybe it's just that like he feels the need to protect. But I'm like, it just we'll come back to it. But it feels like that's what's happening.
Mm.
Her other bat boy.
Azrael.
Yes, as when he takes this ash bolt covered in bloodbane through the chest again, I'm like, oh my god, now we know for sure who was shooting at Reese. Bloodbane, ash, arrows, all the things. Clearly we can scratch out the question I had from a few episodes ago. I'm beating it into the ground. Jurian's sword was already out, and he was looking at Mor as if he was going to kill her first. Azriel's blood-drained face twisted with rage as he noticed that stare. Again, the way that they pay attention to each other and react to each other, they have a connection in some way. I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna keep bringing it up.
Yeah.
And then I'm so grateful that we learn that they are healing in some fashion there at the end. At least in this moment, they aren't dead. We don't know what will come in ACOMAF war. Sorry, I was like, which I have to
I don't
remember
know.
the in ACA war. I can't imagine that SJM is going to kill them off between books or like have
Too
that
soon.
start ACA war. Like, don't take them from us. We haven't, I mean, because we haven't lost anyone at this point. Like, everyone's alive, which, you know, if you know anything about like media and books and movies and all the things, as wonderful as it is for all of our favorite characters to live, they don't usually, and if they do, it's kind of a letdown, right? Because life isn't all sunshine and rainbows. But I'd be okay if it was sunshine and rainbows and we didn't have to lose anybody. Maybe, maybe, you know, Tamlin could go away. Not that I want him to die, but we can't lose
I'm
our bat
just gonna
boys.
smile right now. I can't say anything.
I don't know.
I'm smiling really hard into the microphone.
And I don't know what it means, and it makes me nervous.
We better wrap this one up so we can keep going. Yeah, those bat
No.
boys, they've got like 9 lives like cats. I mean, they might be bat boys, but you know, they just keep coming back.
Thank
Like,
God for that.
thought y'all's wings were like one slice and over. Apparently we can put them puppies back together a couple times. I don't know. You're proving
Yeah.
my inner theory wrong. Now, Nesta. Oh, Nesta. Immediately, Feyre knows that something was different about the way that she was made, something different from Elaine. Elaine comes out feeling made in high fae and beautiful, if that was even more possible. But Nesta comes out feeling like there is more power and a darker sense to her. Like she took more than the cauldron was willing to give, and perhaps even fought as she was inside of it. I mean, the chills on my body. I'm imagining Elaine just like
La di da. So
okay.
pretty.
I mean, she's mortified and bawling her eyes out. But
But still,
that being said, and then I just imagined Nesta just like
rising from the ashes, a
slowly rising
phoenix.
and like exuding this sort of like dark, angry nature that already was. I mean, to be fair, I feel like the cauldron just heightens who you are at your core. I mean, it did that for Feyre. She was already very self sufficient and powerful in her own right as a human, and it exaggerated it. I mean, not the cauldron itself, because she got power from the Seven Lords, but their power comes from the cauldron, where all life comes from. Anyways, it's all full circle. Elaine is, you know, made even more beautiful, but she still has this like softer presence to her. Nesta was always dark and formidable. It's so interesting, and it makes me giddy and want to turn pages. Let's go. I need more.
Amen to that. This girl never backs down. She never stops fighting. Clearly evident in this chapter, in these chapters. When she points her finger at the king of Hybern, a curse and a damning, a promise. I'm putting this out into the pod, into the universe. If this girl doesn't get to kill him herself, then there is not justice in this world. If she does
Mm.
not get, it's, I'm, we're coming back to Twilight again. If it is not Alice jumping on top of, and ripping the head off, if that is not what Nesta basically gets to do to the King of Hybern, there's no justice in this world. But also, she's so rage filled and like dark and now kind of scary. I hope that that's not all that Nesta is.
Mm.
I'd be curious to see like how she now grapples with the Fae life. Um, with that being said, because now they all hated fairies to begin with, even
Mm-hmm.
Feyre did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But like, I'm so curious to see how she and Elaine adjust to being Fae. Elaine is sobbing and she still has this ring on her finger and whatever, and she's just broken. And then there's Nesta who's fighting and they call her a hellcat and whatever. And I'm like, wow, what is this transition going to be like? And I'm sure it's going to continue to be a lot of tears from Elaine and a lot of rage from Nesta. But they had no love for fairies in their hearts when this transition happened. But
Right.
Feyre did. Feyre found a love for Prithian and found a love for Fae. Nesta and Elaine did not.
It makes me think that perhaps if Feyre had a choice, let's say things panned out way differently. Okay. She ends up with Tamlin, Amarantha is dead, everything's all fine and dandy, and she has a
And one book
choice
and it's done.
to become a Fae if she wants to. I think maybe she would have picked it so that she could be with her love forever.
I think she would have too.
And
Mm-hmm.
Nesta and Elaine do not choose this for themselves. In fact, they wouldn't even choose to save themselves by just going to live in Valaris for a little bit with the Fae.
Mm-hmm.
So I think how they handle this transition is going to be dramatically different from what we saw with Feyre.
Yeah.
Yeah, extremely. Elaine's transition, I know he's talked a lot about Nesta, but for Elaine, gosh, the image of her is actually quite haunting. I mean, the way they describe her coming out of that cauldron, remember, she was gagged and bound when she came in. They describe her night dress as being like ripped and dirty. She comes out of this cauldron and it's completely see through. You can
Mm-hmm.
see her naked body in her wet nightgown. And as if she wasn't already vulnerable and stripped down enough, now she's like, stripped down to her core. And she is just visibly naked essentially to everybody. I mean, that's why Lucien comes and gives her his jacket. And it's just
And
so sad. Like, I don't
don't
know,
they
for
like
some
snicker at
reason,
her and laugh?
yes.
And it's like,
Yeah.
ugh.
I just have to think like that's horrible for anybody, but for some reason it feels extra horrid for Elaine because she reminds us of innocence.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
Innocence and
if that had
purity.
happened to Feyre and Nesta, I feel like it would have just been like, fuck you, I'm owning it.
Mm-hmm.
But for Elaine, yeah, it's so haunting to see her be the one who has to be displayed like that. On
Mm-hmm.
the other hand, a little quippy note, the king says, put the prettier sister in first. I
This
giggled. I was like, ouch to Nesta, because it never says who it's going to be. We all know who he's talking about. Like, the room knows, the guards just know,
right, they
the
just do
readers
it.
know. We all know we're talking about Elaine. Put the prettier sister in first. And I just be like, the fuck?
That's just like, fuck you. Adding this to my goddamn list.
uh
Oh,
I did. Again, that was a moment of comedic relief for me. As horrifying as it is, I was like, that's funny.
but it was good. Like those little nuggets are so
Oh.
necessary because otherwise it would just be so overwhelmingly devastating and depressing. And I mean, I think we like talk about that in the first or last 100 pages of ACOTAR. Like we needed those heartfelt moments. We
Yeah.
needed Feyre throwing the bone spear to kind of be like, haha, hell yeah, girl. Like, if we didn't have these little pieces, I think you'd just be, I mean, you're still left like, oh my God, that's horrible. But I think it would feel so much more daunting to open the next book if you didn't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
these little pieces of humor and love and whatever else.
Right.
So, speaking of love,
Oh, yes.
maybe question mark, question mark, Elaine and Lucian are
Okay.
mates. Now, there's a
Listen.
theory. Go,
You want me
go,
to go? Okay. So
go ahead.
yeah, I have a lot of interesting thoughts about them being mates. And there are an equal amount of theories about why
Mm.
they are maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should discuss those in a later book
Okay.
because right now,
I mean, we don't really know.
I mean, no, but right now, all I want to say is that, I mean, I could get down with the idea of Lucian if he could repent
Mm.
being her mate because that I feel like it could be a good fit. He is kind in nature. He is a strong presence of a male. Something
Mm-hmm.
he is respectful in so many ways. I mean, things that I would imagine she appreciates and needs. Um, I could completely understand and be okay with that. However, there are a lot of theories that they're not. And I I don't know if that will come to fruition or not because I mean, if for those of you who maybe have like bought the box set and you have all the books, you know that Nesta has a book coming up in this whole series. We don't have that yet for Elaine. We truly
Mm-hmm.
have no idea where her story is going to go in the long run. But that's maybe the book we're going to get. So no one, no matter what theory you read, has the answer to this question.
Mm.
Okay.
We're
It's
all
all
just spitballing.
speculation. But, I think about Lucian being of the fall court and fall representing a sort of death in change, right? Like that's where all the things that grow during spring, which is kind of what Elaine represents, is in this beauty, and fall is needed to help the growth process.
Mm-hmm.
Of all of our characters, who have we seen the least amount of growth from? Probably Elaine.
Yeah.
So perhaps Lucian is intended to help her through her own growth process to rebloom. Just a thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh,
That's my thought.
yeah. Yeah. So intrigued to see Sarah J. Mass. We love you. Give us another book. I just realized,
Please, no pressure. Do we just
please, right,
please?
just when you're ready. But
When you're
but
ready, we're ready.
I didn't realize this until the other day that ACOTAR came out in 2015 question mark,
Yeah.
and that A Court of Silver Flames, so ACOSIF
Akasif. Akasif.
ACOSIF was published in 2021. So it's it's been a little while, right? And she's writing other things and she's got other projects, and SJM, we love you. There is genuinely no pressure, none at all. It's not coming from us. But just know that we love you and we love what you write, and we'd really love to know what comes next. We would really love that if you're willing to share it with us. Just putting that into the universe in a very soft and light and loving way. No pressure.
I know. Maybe by the time we're done with this whole series, she'll be ready. Ugh.
And that would be great. That would be great. So back to our characters. Lucian, a puppy, a follower, told what to do, listens and obeys his master.
Mm.
Oh, Lucian. I appreciate that like he winces and cringes and clearly doesn't fully agree with what's going on with the bargain that Tamlin has made. But, and this is a hard but, he still went along with it. He is still following on Tamlin's little heels.
Yeah.
And he let it happen. And for that, Lucian means very little to me in this moment, which sucks because I do like him. I liked him.
Yeah.
and this book, and he's following orders, right? He was following orders when he attempted to take Feyre in the woods. He's following orders now, but at some point, man, you've either got to decide to be your own person or we're done. I'm gonna be the hot Lucian sister and I'll take over the role of being the snarky king, queen. Um, I and then like he is redeemable in certain qualities. He goes to Elaine, he offers her his coat. He doesn't want her to be naked and whatever on the floor, and he is a nice man. And then he just blurts out, "You're my mate." And you're like, "Oh, so are you a nice man or are you just doing this because you have to?" Like, I'm so conflicted.
Yes. Oh,
So
you know what?
conflicted.
You just reminded me of something I wanted to say too. It's like, yeah, he just blurts out, "You're my mate." And
Mm.
we all gave Reese. Okay, well, I didn't, but a lot of
But
people,
people did, not us.
including Feyre, gave Reese shit for not
Mm.
just coming out and saying it. But now we see, man, how jarring it would be if he had, in the same way Lucian does, to do something similar in a very
Mhm.
ill-timed manner to Feyre. To be like, oh, hey, here's a really chaotic moment of your life, and you are in love with somebody else, and just like Elaine is engaged to somebody else. But like, you're my mate. I claim you.
Just thought you should know. You're mine.
We all would have hated Reese. He did the right thing. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Because but
It's
does
a
that
hill
mean
we
Lucian
will die
did the
on.
wrong thing? Is it him being so like, what the fuck? Because remember, Lucian was in love. Lucian
Mhm.
watched the love of his life be murdered by his father and brothers in front of his eyes. And is this him realizing that woman I loved, that I've spent so many years mourning, wasn't my mate? You are?
Mhm.
Is it shock that he just like word vomits it out?
And he can't leave in this moment. Reese could winnow away. Reese could go away to feel all the feels and decide what to do. And Lucian, well, not that he can't, because the power has been released off of him, but he's not going to leave Tamlin. He's not going to leave his side, his master. Um, so yeah, it's super interesting. I would almost love like some Lucian POV a little bit.
Yeah.
That would be interesting because too, from his point of view, he is such a smart idiot. Like he sees through the bullshit, or he's trying to see
Yeah.
through the bullshit right there at the end. And it's, you know what? It's too bad that he couldn't do that with Tamlin. He's narrowing in. It literally, Lucian's metal eye narrowed as if he could sense the lies that Feyre was telling about missing the spring court and being home, and I have so much to share and la di da di da. He's sensing, he's smelling the bullshit.
Yep.
Why can you do it with her and you can't do it with Tamlin?
Absolutely.
Stupid man.
Well, speaking of Tamlin, rereading it, for the multitudes of time I have, I blood still curdles
Mm.
knowing that he betrayed Feyre in such a way. And I mean, he doesn't see it that way, right? His mind is so warped, and he believes that her mind is warped by the night court. It's such a guttural moment of betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
And, think about the fact that Tamlin has seen all the horrors that were performed by the King of Hybern through Amaranthin in the last war. He knows what's going to happen to the people of his land and the human people. And yet he allows all of this. So the question of, would Tamlin go to war for her may not have been a resounding yes in the way that we perhaps thought, but would Tamlin do unspeakable horrors and make terrible deals to retrieve her? Absolutely.
Kind of wish she'd just gone to war.
Yep. I mean, and just what really sent me at the very end of the book, very end, even after learning of her treacherousness, her traitorousness, Tamlin says he needs to go make some things clear with Ianthe. What do you mean, make things clear? Boy, this is the time to
Mm.
cut the tie. You to make things clear with her? No, no, Ianthe, that was a bad thing that you did.
Let me just slap you on the wrist. Kick her out, rip her
Dude.
throat out. Like if Feyre was not already playing the game that she's playing, if it had all been a farce and if she was in love with Tamlin still at this point, that right there would have made me go,
The fuck?
"Excuse me? Excuse me?"
Insane.
He is a prick. He's jealous, he's possessive, and he is a prick. I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
putting it out there. We truly know the lengths that this man will go to get back what he believes is his. And I would have preferred it be war because that would have been, I don't know, less heartbreaking.
Mm.
Because in some way, right? Like we all loved Tamlin at one point in time. At one point in time, he did do good things for Feyre. He did do good things for her family. But now that he's made this bargain, he's said that he will give Feyre over basically to work with the king, let forces enter through his territory, remove the wall. He's calling her mine. It's just all so disgusting. And then now he doesn't refer to himself in this way, but the king of Hybern does, and he doesn't say no, but he's referred to as Feyre's master.
Mm.
And that just makes me want to vomit. It makes my blood boil. Like the master of no one, for one, and definitely not the master of Feyre, of all
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
I ugh. It makes me really upset. I'm heated in this moment that he couldn't even accept the bond because again, he has fallen into such a deep madness over this need, this possession that he feels over Feyre. And I'm like, do you even love her? Or is it
Mm.
just the principle of the thing for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's
Like,
like with the tithe. Do you
yeah.
really need all the money from
Mm,
the water race? No. It's the principle of it.
yeah, because big strong Tam Tam can't not take money from people. Big strong Tam Tam can't lose a woman to resand. Big strong Tam Tam deserves what he deserves, and what's his is his. Mm. And I think that in this moment with him not accepting the bond, this is where he comes becomes irredeemable for me. And
Mm.
maybe something will change. There's still books to come. You know, he's not going anywhere, but at least in this moment I'm like I don't think you can come back. Quote, I don't give a shit if she's your mate. I don't give a shit if you think you're entitled to her. She's mine. That those three little sentences I think are so telling. And again, maybe he's lost his mind. Maybe he's gone crazy. She's not
I-
yours. Even if she'd married you, she's not yours. She's her own human being. And damn it to all hell, Tamlin, they are mated. They're mated. And you want to break that? You want to break that sacred primal bond, you nasty motherfucker. And then to let his dumb ass self be fooled by Ianthe on top of it all. On top of it all, he is a puppet on her string as she pushed him to work with Hybern. She's a nasty bitch, but he's a dumbass. And you know what? I cannot wait to see her get ripped apart or whatever her fate is. I can tell you, don't know what it is, but I know it's not going to be a good one, and I can't wait for it. And right now, I can't wait for it to happen to Tamlin too. I'm sorry. I'm
I mean, we
sorry.
talk about our choices defining our own fates, and
Yeah.
they're making some interesting choices.
Oh,
Karma.
choices. Mm. Mm-hmm.
Karma. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, speaking of going a little mad over someone that you love, enter Jurian. Hearing Jurian speak in like real life, you know what I mean? Like, not as an eyeball. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, not a memory, not a silent observer through a ring. You realize that he probably saw Reese in all the compromising positions with Amarantha. But I also would think that perhaps he saw how used she was.
Mm.
I
How she
mean,
was a pawn.
even in the moments where Amarantha could have turned her head away, the ring would still be watching. You're telling me Jurian didn't see more than what Amarantha did at first glance? I am not convinced that Jurian truly believes Rhysand to be the big bad. If you were never allowed to sleep, never allowed to see anything else but what was in
Yeah.
front of you for 500 years and watch every horror she performed, constantly awake, you see everything. That to me says you must have seen more than what her eyes beheld. You must have been able to read between the lines. Come on.
You would think so, right? But is it this idea of madness, of his
Mm,
consciousness, of his soul going insane?
perhaps. I mean, and again, that obsessiveness, he's obsessed with
Mhm.
Miriam. You know, Morgan tells him no, she and Drake can drown in the sea. And he's still like,
Where is she?
it's one of the
Give her
first
to
things he
me.
has to say. Yeah.
Hmm.
Interesting. Wonder if he can somehow represent Tamlin's fate as well if he continues this direction.
Yeah, I definitely feel like, because I've mentioned it too, this sort of like love triangle between Jurian, Miriam, and Dracon. Now you've got Rhys, Feyre, Tamlin. Like
Right.
it feels very mirrored. And hopefully maybe this is even an opportunity for Tamlin to see what can happen when you
Yeah.
can't accept, the loss, I guess.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So he's reborn, reanimated. Before we move on to our last character, this little nugget. He's reborn question mark, he's reanimated question mark, but like he wasn't made a fae.
No.
Feyre says he's a human with rounded ears,
Yeah.
which I found very interesting. Why? And
I,
I want to know more about like his
I feel like bigger part of the
thing.
game. You know, like the king only remade him to go convince the queens to be on his
But how do you
side.
pick and choose? How do you and then can you make
I don't
other
know. Maybe you'll be
things?
like, hey, Cauldron, can
Hey,
you just
hey,
like,
round ears. But like, okay, so you can make fae, you can make humans. Can you
what
make
else
other
can you make?
things?
Yeah. I mean, it made the whole world. We got
It made the Weaver,
all
it made
all
Amarin
sorts
question
of
mark.
different. Well, we don't know that. We know it made Prithian,
Yeah.
but
Well,
we
that's what
don't
I'm
know
saying. Like those
anything
other
else about
things.
the other things that could have come from a different world. That we don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Naga of this world.
The adder.
Mm-hmm. So perhaps, I don't know. It's pretty powerful. Speaking of powerful, the king of Hybern, who is currently somewhat nameless,
Couch.
described with a face that looks like a man in his 40s, shoulder length black hair, practical clothes, eyes that are black. Remember last week I was like, eye
Mm-hmm. Eye
color
color.
feels important.
Yeah.
Why are his eyes black? Okay. A note for the future, definitely. Now, I I don't know much about him specifically at this point, right? We just know that he's a little creepy and he's
Mm.
super powerful. Um, I love his comedic timing. That moment where Tamlin and Feyre are arguing and she's like, um, oh, what does he say? I wrote this down, but also I wrote it really weird. Okay. Tamlin and Feyre are arguing about why she left and how she wasn't doesn't want to be stifled in the house and she's angry, refusing to go back. And the
Yeah.
king's like, "Oh, not what you expected, was it?" To Tamlin,
Yeah.
like he's like, "Yeah, of course she's not gonna want to go back with you." Haha, that's funny. You got an interesting girl there. I just the fact that all of this is happening and he mentions this is actually hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Actually hilarious. Um, I don't know. That was my first impression of him.
Yeah. I wrote down all the same things. The sitting on a throne of human bones and
Mm.
that the castle looks as if it's made of bone was like, ooh, that's interesting. Um, and he expels this white hot magic.
Mm-hmm. That is very interesting.
What is this? I don't think we've experienced this until now, and now he's done it, and then Feyre's done it in a
Well,
way.
white hot magic the same as blinding light? I don't know. They kind
I
of
don't
feel
know.
similar, right?
Right. Yeah. So I was like, what is that white hot magic? And
Yeah.
just pure magic, not in the form of something.
Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I'm gonna
So,
highlight that. I that feels important.
yeah, it also
I'm literally,
felt
I'm
hard
literally,
to
I'm
me.
literally gonna highlight it. I'm like, that feels like we should pay attention.
Yeah.
Things to pay attention to for sure. This for me was a very like what kind of moment. Feyre notes that Lucian's one magic eye widens as he looks between Elaine and the High Lord Tamlin, horrified. Now, this is something I missed on my first few reads, but reading it back now, it's really odd. You would think Lucian would be horrified looking between maybe like Elaine and her sister, Feyre, or even Nesta. Why is he looking horrified between Elaine and Tamlin, who's already like gagged and bound next to him? To me, this does feed into a theory that Lucian is not Elaine's mate,
Mm,
because that's so strange. Unless he's like looking at his best friend to be like, best friend, she's my mate.
mm-hmm.
Perhaps that is the case. But either way, to me, that was a red flag to pay attention to for the future.
It also makes me then wonder a few things. What and where did this eye come from that it could sense or see that before anybody else? Um, if he could see it between Tamlin and Elaine, why couldn't he see it between Rhysand and Feyre? Why? I don't know. I just, yeah. His metal eye is very intriguing to me. The fact that it
Mm-hmm.
almost has like its own brain.
Brain. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And again, why and where did this metal eye come from? It just seems a metal eye seems so out of place to
Mm.
me within
Mm-hmm.
Prithian.
In a world of riding horses.
Yeah, that there's this mechanical eye that can potentially see through bullshit and see bonds. That whole thing is, yeah. I hope we get an answer to
Yeah.
who her mate is, whether it's Lucien or Tamlin or what he saw in that moment, or if he saw anything, and maybe it was just a fuck up on, you know, Sarah J. Mass's part, which it wasn't. We love you. But yeah, the
It's
metal
just something
eyes.
to pay attention to,
Yes.
and I agree. If the eye does feel out of place because you're like, what? Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Mechanical
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Um, I always have lots of questions. So here are mine. Here are my unsures. So I'm curious, how will the war go if a few minutes of defending Valaris really wipes out our inner circle? Like Amryn is pale and leaning against Az, who's worried about her. His siphons are dull and muted. Cassian is drained. Quote, his hazel eyes still glowed with the embers of rage, but you can tell they're just exhausted. So what is a war going to look like then, needing to constantly and consistently exude that power? Be
Yeah.
curious to see how that goes. There's this quote: the brave, cunning Jurian, and I said, you mean pussy? Sorry, who suffered so badly at the end of the war. Now my ally, here to help me convince these queens to aid in my cause, for a price of his own, of course, but it has no bearing here. What price?
Mm.
What price did Jurian pay? What is he ultimately getting out of this? that made me question.
That's a
I was
great
like, and
question.
then he
Double
goes, but
question mark.
it has no bearing here. Well, yes, it does, because I want to know and I need to know. I need to know.
That's fair.
Um, when they put Nesta and Elaine in the cauldron to prove to the queens that it can be done, I had this question of, is this the first time that they've made Fae in this way? Now, I know that Fae come from the cauldron, but Fae reproduce. So clearly this has had to have happened before, because the King of Hybern says that the transition can be difficult, but that a strong-willed individual could survive. Is that all just him theorizing, or has this
Speculating.
been done before?
Yeah, I mean, we hear from Amryn that there's only three made
Right.
individuals, Miriam, her, and Feyre. But I mean, Prithian, I guess, or the land at least, existed before Amryn got there. So
Mm-hmm.
perhaps, I mean, maybe it's in the spell book that the King of Hybern has,
Yeah.
and he knows it from there. How old is that spell book? How old is he? Like, all things we
Yeah.
don't know, but very keen observation.
Yeah. What's up with the yin and yang queens? And what happened to the sixth queen?
Yeah, we
I
don't know.
mean, she probably like didn't agree or something and they killed her, but what did happen to the sixth queen, and why are the yin and yang queens so weird? I don't know that I'll ever get those answers, but I've been questioning those things. I don't know if this question really matters, but why does Nesta care for Elaine so deeply? Is it just the sisterly bond? Is it that they have had more time together than they had with Feyre? I just the deep need to protect her is
Mhm.
interesting to me. Like, where does that come from and why do you have that? Um so mating bonds can be broken, or just other bonds. Amryn says that's not a thing, but the King of Hybern was pretty sure he could break a
Do
bond.
it.
He even said he could break a mating bond. So I was like, I don't know if this matters, but curious that there's these two conflicting ideas, especially from Amryn, who seems to kind of be like the all knowing, to a
Mm.
certain extent,
Yeah, and it's like, well, he's a fool. That's not possible.
which we would assume, but he did break the bargain bond. So I don't know. Why isn't there a dusk court? I was looking at the map. There's dawn and day and night. Why isn't there a dusk?
Is that
SJM.
always included?
I mean, that's the opposite of dawn, and everything has opposites in here, doesn't it? Fall,
Mm.
spring, winter, summer, dawn or night, day, dawn, dusk. I was
Yeah.
curious why seven and why I. It doesn't matter. Maybe it's totally just a choice on SJM's part,
We
but
get
I
a
was
very
curious.
little tiny, not like specific answer to that, but we do get a little answer to that when Reese takes Feyre to the prison the first time,
Mm-hmm.
because he mentions the island could have been at one time its own court, but it was
Mm-hmm.
absorbed by the night court.
And the area that Miriam grew up, the like that's something else too, isn't
Well, I think
it?
that's like separate, like on the continent.
Oh, it's a whole other place. It's kind of like
Yeah.
Hybern. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
So that's
I don't
my
know that that
only
matters.
like I think that's the only mention we've had of it. There's no like specific name that he gives to it, but
Mm-hmm.
that's the only other area we know of that could have at one time in history been a separate court.
Been something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Whoa, we did it. That was all of our
It's
characters to go over today. Oh my gosh.
crazy. It's crazy. I wanted to throw in here. So we've mentioned before that we have a listener's corner. So we have gotten a few messages and things of questions that have been piqued by other people's brains that maybe we didn't bring up, or that they wanted to make sure that we talk about again in the future. So keep those coming. We will keep them. We will talk about them at some point in time. A lot of them are theories and connect dots and different things. So keep please send those in over Instagram, TikTok. You can comment
Yes.
on Spotify episodes. Like, please, please, please do that. We have an email. Drop us an email. We
We
want to
would
fill out
love
this
to give you
listener's
a
corner.
shout out in here.
Yes, yes, we would. And so I will really quickly, I'll drop in a shout out to one of my childhood best friends, brothers, John McDonald. Thank you for listening and sending me lengthy messages at 2 a.m. when you finish an episode. And to my mom, Michaela, thank you for also being a listener and
Yay,
having
Mom.
all the things that she wants us to talk about. So thank you
I
guys.
love it. Wait, did I tell
Yeah.
you my husband listens to these
You
episodes?
told me he was. Yes. Yes.
I don't know if he
I love
still is,
it.
but I love that. Oh my gosh, we finished our second book on the High Queen podcast. We did
Ah,
it. Yes. Great job to us. Great job, listeners. You finished 2 whole books. They're
yay.
thick, so well,
They
they're
are
like
big
medium.
books. Well, and we're also diving into them, right? Like we're deep
Yeah.
diving. We say we're summarizing. We're deep diving. We're analyzing. That takes time. So good job, everybody.
Yay. So how would you rate the book? Let's rate
Rating
it.
system.
A reminder of our
Yes.
rating system, y'all. Okay, we have a 5 point crown system. Hence, high queens, pageant girls.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
Yes. 5 point crown, the top, the pinnacle. Okay. A royal masterpiece fit for a high queen or king. A 4 point crown, almost perfect with a few minor kingdoms to conquer. 3 point crowns, a solid tale worthy of noble consideration. 2 point crowns, a decent story, but could use some more courtly intrigue. And a 1 point crown, a story that missed the mark and is in deep need of some royal polish. I mean, for me, I feel like it's very, very obvious. It's an easy 5 for me, right? A royal masterpiece fit for a high queen or king. I loved the first book, ACOTAR. I'd give it a 5 every time.
Yeah.
If I had to compare ACOTAR and ACOMAF, then I would give ACOTAR a 4 point crown and ACOMAF a 5. Because truthfully, this is one of my all-time favorite books. Sorry, I keep looking over here if you're watching because it's
Because of
sitting
where
over
it is.
here. I'm like, there it is. It's over there.
I can see it.
I love this book so much because you get that build up, you get all of the character growth in here, you get the falling in love, you get the adventure, the turmoil. Oh, it's so good. And also, there's so much more spice in this book than there was in the first one. And I also just I feel so deeply seen in Feyre's character by the recovery of trauma in this book and how she's able to navigate it and learn to love herself again and find her
Mhm.
power. So beautiful. And that's why I give this book a 5.
And for all the same reasons, I give it a 5, a 10, a 15. How high does our rating system go again?
5.
Yes, yes. But yes, it is wholeheartedly a 5. And, I see there's like discourse online. There's still so many books to come, books I haven't read in this series and in this, Sarah J. Maas verse.
Yeah.
But I genuinely believe, and I don't think I'm going to eat my words on this one. I genuinely believe that this is and will continue to be one of my all time favorite books. I could reread it over and over for all the things that you said, for the character growth, for the connection and love and humor and snark that we get between our two main characters. I love Rhysand and Feyre, and I love the inner circle, and I love the drama. And I guess if I had to stop here, I'd feel so left out on what's to come. But I love this book, and it is definitely one. Twilight's one of my all-time favorite books, and ACOMAF is too. It's definitely up there
Yay.
for me, and I don't think anything's gonna dethrone it because it's not like almost gonna dethrone Twilight, but I can't. They're equals for me personally. Yeah.
I love that. Well, that brings us, friends, to our heroine's journey. My final heroine's journey for A Court of Mist and Fury is one filled with the ideas of choice,
Mm-hmm.
peace, independence, and partnership. At its core, this book reminds us that the heroine's journey is always shaped by choice. The choice to survive, to heal, to hope, and eventually to give yourself permission to dream of a life defined by peace rather than pain. Feyre teaches us that finding peace in this world is not something we are meant to do entirely on our own. There is immense power in learning how to stand independently, to be self sufficient, capable, and whole, all on your own. But there is something equally as powerful and deeply human, or Fae in this case, about choosing to build that peace with the people you love, whether that is your family, chosen family, or your mate. Not because you need them to save you, but because you want to have someone who can fight for that peace beside you. Feyre shows us that being alone in your choices feels heavy, but sharing them with those that you trust brings comfort and power. And I think we can all walk into our own battles and victories with the ability to face more, become stronger, and truly choose to define our own journey.
And I'm going to wrap that up with a quote because it seems to be the way that I like to do it. Quote, "You might be my mate, but you remain your own person. You decide your fate, your choices, not me. You chose yesterday. You choose every day forever." You're the master of your own life. You get to choose and like you said, be supported by those around you, but you choose every day forever.
Yay. Oh, I love it. It's beautiful. It's such a
Mm.
perfect way to end this book.
Yes.
Now, I know you want to keep going. I know you want to turn the page, but we've got to close the book on this one.
But hey, every epic needs a cliffhanger, right? So let's savor the suspense.
Now, remember, please like, share, subscribe, and write a review.
Like Little Pink Owl. Unless it's
Yes.
bad, but we love you for whatever reviews you give us.
Now, before you remove your bookmark and prepare for next week, we are moving on to a brand new book. Oh my gosh. So, A Court of Wings and Ruin is the next book we're going to cover. We will start by covering chapters 1 through the end of 10, and that's part 1 of the book. And remember, whether you are conquering your own kingdom or just cozying up with a good book, you are the main character of your own epic tale.
Okay, queens, for real now, put the book down, hold your crown high, and of course, we will catch you on the next page.